Good morning and welcome to the trade setup right here on BloombergQuint Live. To all of you, firstly, and your families and your loved ones, Asal Mubarak. I hope all of us have a healthy and a happy year ahead. I'll end the message with the same, but it was important to start with the same as well. And is it looking like a Mubarak Sal for the world? Well, maybe so, because yesterday, amongst the big news, I was just thinking what stood out for me over the last 3 days on the weekend, right? And there are lots of things that happened, but the two most important things that stood out for me was one that happened late last evening, our time, wherein Moderna's COVID vaccine has been found to be 94.5% effective in early analysis, and this is better than the other one, the Pfizer one that came in, right? So this was positive news, and I think this doused all the other fears that the market may have had, because I think over the weekend the street didn't get ruffled. Actually, a lot of very smart money managers and large people that I spoke to, or the large money managers that I spoke to, said that they are not too perturbed with Kamala Harris's tweet about how the new government or the president-elect and the vice president-elect will eliminate the Trump tax cuts. They said that this is half anticipated. That is part one. Then part two, it might not be so easy for them to go ahead and do it because of the controls that the Republicans now have or don't have over the Senate, so to say. So therefore, market men were not too perturbed with this. But I must say that the Moderna news, of course, helped the sentiment too. Though when you pull up the US markets, and the chart that we'll pull up might show you that there was a bit of a red on the Nasdaq, which was because Nasdaq was in the red in trade yesterday, because big tech actually corrected, stay-at-home stocks corrected, whereas going out and buying actually did well, right? Because so airlines, cruise liners, etc. in the US did well, and which is why S&P and the Dow did really well for themselves. However, when you pull it back to Asia this morning, yes, there is a bit of green on the screen, but it's not like a runaway rally or anything like that. It's pretty mixed bag for the rest of the Asian pack. As you can see, I mean, HSI marginally higher, KOSPI just about there, maybe marginally lower. Some of the other markets too, mixed bag. So nothing too dramatic really when it comes to the Asian screen. And India too, I think would be starting off flattish, marginally lower, marginally higher, but should be flattish, and you probably anticipate that. So no big changes really from the SGX Nifty. We also had that 1 hour trade, by the way, on Saturday. Had it been a really long weekend, we could have wanted to adjust for Fridays and Mondays closings, but we had a bit of a trade on Saturday for the Murat trading session. And therefore, I think the SGX Nifty could well be a reasonable indicator of what he are likely to do in the session today. The only question is, can that change during the course of the day? Yes, it could. But I think what is more important to figure out what the internals of our market could be like. I think trade setup today is reasonably interesting, simply because of 2 or 3 factors that I think are really, really important from a trading perspective. So one, I think the vaccine news optimism should help global markets trade positively, and therefore should help India too, even if we start off flattish in the session. But the key is, what is it that you watch out for? So one, I think telecom stocks could be reasonably active. They have been active for the last 2 or 3 sessions. In Friday's session too, Vodafone had some tremendous delivery volumes, and I'll tell you why, of course. But telecom, OMC, all of these could be positive. I dare say, viewers, PSU stocks in general could well be positive today because of the BPCL news. And of course, I think what I spoke to, at least to a few dealers over the weekend, seems to suggest that contrary to, now let's just be with the previous plate first, please, for a moment. Contrary to the popular perception of risk on being there and metals, etc., coming in, large dealer desks and the local brokerages have actually seen pharma and IT being bought quite aggressively too. So that's the slightly interesting bit that how I should bring up in the trade setup. However, the mood is towards the beaten down names, the economy recovery names, and therefore you got to watch out for oil, metals, commodity names. All of those could well be in focus. Now, BPCL, front and center of us, right? This is the first most important stock that all of us should be watching out for. The divestment secretary, Tuhin Kantapande, said that the government has received several expressions of interest for the proposed stake sale of BPCL. This should keep the stock active. We'll probably get some news or some names today around noon or before that, maybe. But I think this should be viewed positively for BPCL. The stock was very active in Saturday's session too, was up about 3 or 4%, if I'm not wrong. And this should bring in the oil marketing companies also in focus. Maybe HPCL doesn't get anything from divestment because it's not a candidate for divestment. And if BPCL is facing so many issues, obviously it's a different kettle of fish. But I just think that the mood improves dramatically. Yeah, thanks to my producer. This is what, as I was saying, that even on the truncated session, the motor trading session, the stock was up about 3-4%. So a lot of people bought home BPCL, and I dare say they won't be disappointed today, because I would suspect that the stock could start off well. So you need to watch out for BPCL individually in the session today. I think this is great for BPCL in terms of news. This is very good for other oil marketing companies as well as for the PSU companies. So watch out for all the PSU stocks in the session today. What else? A couple of other newsmakers which I thought were important. So the ET Telecom, the Economic Times Telecom beat has put out this news that Vodafone Idea may raise tariffs by the year end or early 2021 by 15 to 20%. Now, this is interesting for Vodafone, Bharti, as well as Reliance individually, for Reliance Jio's perspective as well. And I'll tell you, I have one data point that I would like to bring it out in terms of volumes for Vodafone Idea. The full day volumes on Friday were about 20 crores, and on Saturday, in just that 1 hour of trade, the stock had about 24.63 crore volume. So as much as I was talking about BPCL being very active in Saturday's Murat trading session, we or Vodafone Idea was extremely active, and therefore I'll watch out for this stock in the session today. But also keep an eye out on Bharti and Reliance too. Yeah, this is Vodafone Idea, and just look at that spurt, not just in the pricing but in volumes. As I said, the 1 hour volumes in Vodafone Idea were higher than the full day volumes on the 30th of November, which also were reasonably high. So therefore, watch out for this stock in the session today, and the other telcos as well. That aside, I think Tata Steel, and I was talking about how steel could be active for the PSU reasons, so stay, sale, etc. But Tata Steel individually could be interesting. Morgan Stanley's note on Tata Steel sums up the mood really. They are positive, of course. The overweight rating has been maintained. They've raised the target price to 690 from 565. They believe the rising steel prices, domestic iron ore prices, and soft coking coal prices are good for the India business. And the bull case target has been raised to 1,000 rupees from 75. That's quite stunning. So the base target is 690, bull target 1,000. Economies are opening up. It could augur very positively for all steel companies. So do watch out for Tata Steel in the session today. Last but not the least is Everready, and I just keep. A lot of talk of how smart money has gone out and bought into Everready. Now, the names are not disclosed. I wouldn't want to speak them out here, but I hear that a lot of smart money has entered into Everready, and this happened because IndusInd Bank essentially and one more institution went out and sold a reasonably large quantity in Friday's session on Everready Industries, and therefore you got to watch out for Everready. If there is a spark, you should try and find out who the buyers are. That could give you some cues. So do watch out for Everready Industries in the session today. Lastly, what stood out for me is immediately post the US elections, the largest trade deal in the world has been signed. The Asia Pacific nations have signed the RCEP. Now, this is something that India walked away from, as some of you might know. If you don't know, you should go on and read this story on our website. So India walked away from this deal last year, but the other countries have gone ahead and signed it. They've said that the door is open for India to come in, but this essentially is China flexing its muscles and showing that it is such an important trade partner in the world trade. So even if the Western nations are not involved, this is a very, very large deal. And I think Citi analysts said that the benefits of these come in way later. But irrespective of that, just the signing of this deal shows that while everybody is thinking about trade war and China plus one strategy, the Asian nations themselves are very happy to go out and sign this deal as well, and that could be interesting. So let's wait and watch. It's long away. The benefits will be some time away, but this is a very important development from a world trade perspective, and maybe might have a near-term impact on the world markets, some of the Asian markets too. So do watch out for that. But that's it for the trade setup today. Watch out for PSUs, watch out for Tata Steel individually, and watch out for BPCL and Vodafone. All of these could be very, very active in the session today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Have a great day. And to all of you, once again, Sal Mubarak.